Hello everyone, greetings from Sri Lanka. On behalf of the Sri Lanka Technological Campus, I warmly welcome all of you for our International Perspective webinar, the comparative method in qualitative and quantitative research in its application to solve problems in research and in professional practice. Due to large number of participations, for today's session, we are conducting two sessions. The first, we started at 3 o'clock and we have finished 4 o'clock, and we are going to start the second session now. For today's session, we have more than 800 participants from India, Nigeria, Indonesia, Egypt, Pakistan, Thailand, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Nepal, Philippines, United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan, Ghana, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Once again, I warmly welcome all of you for our session. I please rise for the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka Mata, Apa Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata, Sundara Srivarini, Surani Ati Sobhamana Lanka, Manya Nalaya Nekamal Palakuru Piri Jaya Bhumiya Ramya, Apahat Sapa Siri Seta Sadhana, Jivanaye Mata, Iliganu Gana Apavakti Puja, Namo Namo Mata, Apa Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata, Ubave Aparindya, Ubamaya Apasatya, Ubave Apashanti, Apahada Tula Bhakti, Uba Apaharoge, Apage Anuprane, Uba Apajivanave, Apamukti Ubave, Navajivana Devine, Nipina Apakubudu Karan Mata, Jana Veera Vadavani Naragena Yanudana Jaya Bhumikara, Ekamavakage Daru Kalabavina, Yamu Yamu Vinopama, Devavada Samaveda Durada, Namo Namo Mata, Apa Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata.
I now cordially invite our guest of honor, Mr. Manuja Karunaratne, Head of the National Science Library and Resource Center, National Science Foundation of Sri Lanka, to address the participants. Over to you, Mr. Manuja.
Thank you, Mr. Hasita. Good evening. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all for this third international webinar on the comparative method in qualitative and quantitative research organized by the Library of Sri Lanka Technological Campus. I am delighted to have the opportunity to address such a talented gathering from all over the world. I welcome today's speaker, Dr.Tomás Esqueda, Librarian, Daniel Cosío Village Library, the Colegio of Mexico, and Dr. Upul Lekamge from Sabargam University, today's moderator for this event. I must thank Mr. Hasita Korlage, the Librarian of Sri Lanka Technological Campus, for his excellent initiative to conduct a series of webinar programs during the COVID-19 global pandemic crisis. This is a great day for you, and I am very happy to be sharing with you. In fact, mixing with librarian and professionals, researchers and students is one of the great pleasure of my job. As head of the National Science Library and Resource Center of the National Science Foundation of Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome you all to third international webinar program. Again, you all will agree with me without any doubt that librarians are doing research in their daily life when finding solution to their users' problem. The research methodologies we use in our career life are different from each other. The professional practices in library and information science will give you more reliable solution than the standard methodologies. Therefore, improving the quality of professional practices in library will definitely give higher throughput. The traditional library systems are now upgrading into modern library services with the rapid development of the modern technologies. The library community are facing big challenges in adopting new technologies to their libraries. The knowledge of new technologies and its investment costs are the major challenges faced by the librarians. Therefore, every day, learning habits has to be inculcated to their life to supply the demand come from the user side. The librarian must adapt to changing trends and respond to the new ideas in society. Library and information science has developed rapidly over the last 30 years. Online learning platforms are now becoming more and more popular among students and researchers. The demand side of the library services are far ahead than supply side. In fact, we are in beginning of the 21st century, and the libraries have already become the driving force behind any education system in the world. As librarians, we have reached this stage by listening and respond to the world around us. A strategy that will benefit us, progress, a new job, a new career, and new life. Before coming to close these remarks, I would like to invite all the participants to enjoy the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manoja. Now I warmly welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Tomás Bocanegra Esqueda. Dr. Bocanegra obtained his PhD in librarianship and information studies from the National Autonomous University of Mexico. He's a bibliographer at the Daniel Cosío Villegas Library of the College of Mexico. He has a vast knowledge and experience in collection development, user services, and research methodology with a focus of comparative studies. Dr. Bocanegra is a member of a Mexican Association of Librarians, the National College of Librarians, that is the seminar on the acquisition of Latin American libraries. He is currently a vice president of the National College of Librarians. Now let me introduce today's session moderator, Dr. Upul Lekamge. Dr. Lekamge is a lecturer in sociology from the Sabaragamu University of Sri Lanka. Additionally, he has a vast knowledge and experience in delivering lectures for undergraduate and master degree programs conducted by the leading USA and UK universities in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Dr. Bocanegra and Dr. Lekamge for being here. We are really honored. I now hand over the session to Dr. Upul Lekamge. Over to you, Dr. Lekamge.
So, very good day to all the participants from around the world. So, it's a great honor to have here with us Dr. Tomás Bocanegra from Mexico for our third International Perspective webinar. Actually, think of the library science and its development as Mr. Manuja said earlier, it is receiving and developing into a very autonomous discipline. So the research in the library science is also having an unprecedented type of development. So today, Dr. Thomas is going to discuss the application of comparative both in qualitative and quantitative research to solve problems in research and in professional practice. So I think all of you can get a very good understanding by listening to his lecture or the presentation because he is going to share his vast knowledge. So before handing over to Dr. Thomas, a kind reminder to all participants that your questions can be sent to us through the chat message. And to receive your certificate of participation, please type your email in the chat box. Thank you very much. And without further delay, I wish to invite Dr. Thomas to share his and deliver his presentation.
Okay, you can see the presentation.
Yeah, the presentation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Sri Lanka. Good afternoon to all the countries. In Mexico is still early morning, but I am very happy to be with you, of all of you. I appreciate the invitation to the Sri Lanka Technological Campus. I am going to talk specifically about the comparative method and its application to research projects and to solve problems in professional practice. Because all issues related to research methodology are important, not only for the academic life, but also for professional life and in any profession. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I work in el Colegio de México. Okay. I work in el Colegio de México. The literal translation is the College of Mexico. And it's the College of Mexico. It's a public university institution dedicated to the study and teaching of the social science and humanities with focus on Mexico and Latin America. In addition to doing research, we have 3 degrees in international relations and public administration and economy. We have master degrees and doctorates are top. It was created to house in Spanish intellectuals from had been flying from Spanish Civil War and who came to Mexico to live and develop professionally. Carries out research and teaching in specialty areas of the Center of Studies that comprise it: history, linguistic and literary studies, international studies, Asian and African studies, economic, urban and environmental, demographic, and sociological. In addition to the program of studies of gender, it offers degrees, master, and doctorates by specialty. The college have an important library open to the public, specialized in social science and humanities. Its collection is made of more than 700,000 volumes and has an enormous amount of electronic and digital resources. Currently, we are considered as one of the most important libraries specialized in social science and humanities in Latin America, to the importance of its collection and bibliographic process. The Daniel Cosío Villegas Library of the College of Mexico is a leader in Mexico and Latin America for the richness of its collections, the quality of its bibliographic process, and the offers of specialized service for the national and international academic community. It contains one of the most important Latin American collection in the social science and humanities, particularly in public administration, economics, international studies, demography, urban development, history, linguistics, Hispanic literature, politics, and sociology. In translation studies, librarianship, and the social impact of science and technology. So why I am interested in offering you a talk on research methodology, in particular of the comparative method. I have studies in library science, master's degree in information science and knowledge management, and my PhD was in library science and information studies. And the most important, the recognized public university in Latin America, in Mexico City. I specialized in the comparative methods. Since I discovered that it was a method from which many benefits could be obtained in research. In my experience, my library college do not like to talk about research methods. Some consider it's a tedious subject or boring, as different technology related topics are more popular in discipline. Others see it as if they were mathematics. For example, in Mexico, everyone runs from the mathematics. However, the methodology is a part of the discipline that we must learn and have very well founded and learned. I had a professor of research methods when I was studying library science. She was a very hard and very strict. Many of us were scared, but thanks to her way of teaching, I learned research methods exceptionally. So much so that in a job in the was in a university, I was teaching in high school. One day I was missing a teacher, and they looked for a substitute who knew the subject. Fortunately, they looked for me, and I was able to help them with the subject, and that the students were learning that had to do with the steps of scientific method. Because I learned the methods very well, I was able to support my colleagues. I consider that it's very important that all students learn about the research methods, because the qualitative or quantitative methods, because this learning will be something that can be used throughout professional life, whether you dedicate yourself full-time to academia or research, or you are in the job market, research methods are always used in all situations. So, what is the comparative method? So let's start with our specific topic. What is the comparative method? Much has been written from philosophy on research methods. So we will review some concepts of specialist authors in the subject. For example, Doberger considers that comparison constitutes the fundamental method of the social science, in which it plays a similar role to that of experimentation. It is the quintessential instrument of sociological research, and the author considers that the similarities and difference between societies or institutions constitute the most appropriate means for the discovery of social laws. Comparing is simultaneously examining similarities and difference, since two identical things and two completely different things must not be compared. So, according to Donald Warwick, the comparison is a generic aspect of human thought rather than or beyond a special method or itself. The process and means of making comparative studies between different objects allow us to see the similarities in the relationship between two or more variables under different conditions. Therefore, one or more hypotheses are required to present the results of the observer analysis. The objects for comparison should serve to test hypotheses beyond scientific research process. It's possible by its means to solve problems or propose solutions. The comparison process is not only related to simple observation, but also the analyzing the variables, as we can see in the image. We have to identify the elements of variables that constitute an element. So, so that together, analyzing all the elements, we can study and analyze the problem or research object to later make decisions based on the results. This is a way of building a scientific path that provides results. So, the comparative method is oriented to the study of cases in which researchers use it when they know each case studied and analyze its characteristics. This methodology aims to document observable patterns, study cases that can be observed and measured. It allows testing hypotheses and defining theories by comparing objects as a focus on variables helps to evaluate the importance of independent variables to understand a phenomenon. Okay. The comparative method, along with qualitative and quantitative research, must be supported by other research methods and techniques. The method by itself does not run and works to give results. It's necessary to make a research design according to the needs of the problem that we need to solve. The method is not a machine that works by clicking or pressing a button. It requires a creative design on the part of the research, in which a series of techniques and methods are mixed to achieve success in the results. The comparative method is a systematic and experimental research process in which historical moments, cultural environments, social elements, among others, are compared. Also, the comparison allows analyze different aspects, but with one element in common. Study similar elements, but with different degree of importance. The comparison has the purpose of discovering similarities and differences about some phenomena. It includes the observation of more than problem in the same or another social system or social context. The research or professional facing a problem that can be solved by research, so consider all possible aspects that should be studied. Have a research plan that involves various or some aspects of the methodology. The creativity and innovation are the key. This methodology is applicable on all areas of knowledge, from the hard science to the social science and humanities, including the arts. The comparative method has a relationship with international aspects. Usually it's related to international research or between two or several countries. This allows us to analyze the reality of two countries, whether they are similar or very different, and to draw comparison to learn how a problem was solved in a country, or what solutions were applied, and which one I can apply in my country or in my project. This is a model of Gaston Lytton, librarian. In this model, he explained the four steps of methodology of comparative method. For example, the first step is the description of phenomenon or a library problem or many subjects. The two step is the interpretation of data, or interpretation of a problem in different areas. The juxtaposition is the most important step, because in this step we are establishing difference and similarities or difference, and we have many data about a problem. And finally, the comparison is the moment when we are comprovate the hypothesis or conclusions. Okay. It's important to consider that the research compares because it tends to be compared to international research. It's important to consider that it may have the following characteristics. For example, transnational, social, cultural, systemic, and institutional. It's not only about imitating the phenomena that occurred in different contexts. It consists of comparing objects to know that we are doing good or bad, or that we can do better. Comparison is not only limited to case studies or problems, but it's possible to make comparison in an international context, that we can observe the action carried out by other countries, whether they are from the same region or different, and evaluate the relevance of following their actions, since we must always take into account of when making comparative analysis, we must adapt aspects that are in accordance with our environment, such as cultural, financial, and climatic aspects, among others, that make them able to be taken up in another environment, even if it's a little different. So the transnational research, we can offer compare the best practices, promote cooperation and international knowledge or understanding, offer consulting in practice, exchange documents and data, and exchange resources. The comparative studies will help us in, they are not necessarily between two countries. It's a timeless study. The concepts have a broad validity, look for causes and effects, and solve problems. The international studies will help us so in, they must include two or more countries. International understanding is so, cooperation is an objective, aims to compare library systems, promote the exchange experience. The comparative procedures should be objective according to the nature of the matter to be evaluated or analyzed, since also international context may give rise to converting a library matter into one that can be dimensioned in various areas and therefore understood in any systems. Geographical latitude or culture, we must understand that international studies have a limit that will be expressed according to peer work. So it's an important part of comparative process, and one of the techniques that can help us complement the design of investigation are the case studies. The case studies are commonly used a research method in which practical aspects are studied to obtain the empirical data. Usually they are used to study a certain environment and get to know it in depth. The case study allows to check previously written theories and also serves for the analysis and interpretation of conclusions between various studies and the study of the own investigation. It can be used in different disciplines for various purposes. It serves to the study of qualitative and quantitative aspects and allow the comparison between various elements. The case study requires an evaluation and selection process. Alexander George and Andrew Bennett mentioned that to select a case study, the type of research question must be considered which can be descriptive, exploratory, or explanatory. In the descriptive, the selected cases will provide information on the contents and characteristics of particular social phenomena to be able to compare it. In the exploratory case, research can explain a social phenomenon with the opportunity to develop hypotheses or theories that can explain it. For exploratory questions, it's necessary to consider the theoretical explanation and deductive design and investigation. This theory will corroborate hypotheses and verify results provided in the study or in other projects carried out with these techniques. Okay. So the methodology and applicability to compare studies is necessary compare process and presented as an analytical strategy with purpose not only for descriptive but also explanatory. Therefore, the author argues they are process aiming and testing hypotheses. The comparative method is a series of strategies that, as indicated by scientific method, allow the analysis and description of problems to process to be carried out in order to have a broad overview the processes and thus to be able to understand them in a way that can subsequently be carried out as synthesis so as they have evidence to measure the results and evaluate whether the hypothesis can be verified and thus have elements that allows the result to be studied. In methodology and applicability of comparative studies, we can observe that it's necessary begin of research with a theoretical but vaguely defined concept. A defined and delimited research question must be presented about an empirical phenomenon that may present a variation in the real world. Defining the concept or question, it is necessary to offer tentative answers. Define if a case study is going to be considered inside or outside a particular set. Establish definition of the problem or operational. Try to explain the variables of the phenomena to be studied, definition of the objects to compare, for example, population, objects, people, problems. Okay. So the identification of positive and negative cases, analysis of sufficiency conditions where the comparison is focused on the causal condition of interest to the study, identification of causal configuration, the theoretical basis of the causes is evaluated. Sufficient configuration are identified based on consistency criteria. The number of configuration is reduced through the contain rule and eliminate the assumption. The steps mentioned above allow defining the analysis of a comparative study and executing it with the indicated elements. In the comparison process, we must consider that this will give us the variables that we can observe and then synthesized in the research for solution to the problem that we are solving or studying. In the research process in which this method is used, they will give us the first guidelines to determine the elements of the process, and also an approach to the possible solution in our problem in practice, or we can find the first assumption to the solution or hypothesis raised from the origin of our object study. So for final this presentation, we are the conclusion for the solution of the practice of comparative studies is considered that the two types of comparisons should be selected according to the nature of research requirements. If the parts of the object are analyzed describedly, this will allow judgment to be made according to what is demonstrated to the description of the phenomenon. Results can be extracted that demonstrate the qualitative and quantitative nature in disciplines such as politics, education, law, statistics, among others. And that these results serve to test hypotheses and propose a way of thinking. The comparative method allows evaluating two or more entities that are similar or very different. The result of the analysis of this phenomena will provide data for exchange or collaboration, including the cooperation, the international cooperation, in lines of work as well as in solving problems. The comparative method is supported by various tools to collect information from other elements or variables, so that the models established in the literature can be adopted to the research needs. The comparison by itself provides basic information, but the most complement by other data collection techniques to strengthen the study. This method is dynamic and diverse. Since it is supported by other methods and techniques, maybe qualitative and quantitative methodology, as well as case studies. Many of these cases may to be similar to the study objects. However, it gives us a complete overview to the organization and comparative studies. In summary, the research process that requires comparative techniques serve not only to obtain empirical data extracted from observation. They allow us to apply them in solving research problems and in problems of everyday life. Knowing how certain problems was solved in another institution and how they apply their methodology and how they evaluated their variables. In this way, we can have an example to follow to repeat the steps that were followed, and it's in this way apply and adapting them to our environment to execute and analyze and solve problems using this methodology. Thank you very much for your attention and for the invitation. I hope this talk has been used to you, and an apology for my very bad pronunciation of English. Um, I leave you with some images of my country. Um as soon as the borders have opened, and if you want to know to Mexico, I will receive with a pleasure. Thank you very much, and stay healthy and stay safe.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Right. Actually, all the participants today have understood you have taken such pains to prepare and share this presentation with all those who are interested in library science research and general comparative method. So there are two or three questions that came into the chat box. So I'm actually asking the first one. What if a researcher has to select between case study and experiment as a research design? That is how the question is there. What if a researcher has to select between case study and experiment? Now, with your experience, how would you explain, or how would you advise?
Okay. Basically, I think that the research is necessary be creative. We can design research, for example, for objects or planning, or maybe we have a problem in a library. So when we are we know case studies, maybe the creativity of us, it was to be the key, because when we design very hard, very good research, we have many data, many options to solve our problems. It's important to be creative and be and mixing something technical in qualitative and quantitative methods and techniques.
Right. And another question posed was, normally open-ended questions are used in qualitative research and close-ended questions in quantitative research. Is there any other recent development than that? Open-ended questions used in qualitative research, close-ended questions used in quantitative research. Are there any other developments as of now?
Okay. This question, it's very is useful because when we have a design of investigation or research, we have to use many techniques. Maybe this option, it's a good, but it's necessary to prove this technique. Maybe because I don't know, the data, the empirical data, maybe is not to resolve a problem or resolve investigation problem, but it's necessary mistake in very techniques, because this fail, maybe the data we have recognized other way of investigation, but it's necessary if if I don't want to fail or mistake in the investigation. We have a testing these questions or testing other techniques, but always the empirical data of these questions we are obtain useful data.
Okay, and the last question, actually this is not a kind of a question, this is sharing your wealth of experience. Now, this is a very difficult time because most people have to work from home. So now I'm actually requesting you what kind of advice you can give for young librarians around the world, because there are so many young librarians who have joined, who have to work from home, and it's a great challenge. So as an experienced librarian, what kind of advice you would give for them?
Okay, the first is we are not scared to methodology. The methodology subject, it's difficult to read. For example, the investigation methodology books in all the world. It's difficult to understand, or for me is when I was young, it was difficult to understand the process, the methodology, the philosophy of methodology. But I compare the method in library in library science. I compare the methodology with mathematics. So in Mexico, many people hate the mathematics. So when we are young in the library studies, the methodology is similar to mathematics. It's scarce. It's very hard to understand the process, the methodology. But I think that this is a very important subject, and it's very important to learn methodology, because if if I work in academic environment, we are need the methodological techniques or methodological research. But in the market, in the job market, we need to investigate it all the time. Maybe because we have a problem, we need to solve a problem, or we need to know how solve a problem in other country, in other library, in other environment. The methodology is a passionate thing, a subject, and I recommend very patience, and the love of methodology came us.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would actually hand over the session to its conclusion to Hasita Korlage to give the vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lekamge. Before winding up the session, let me thank to all those who have participated for this program. Thank you very much, Sri Lanka Technological Campus, giving us the opportunity to conduct this informative session. My sincere gratitude goes to our guest of speaker, Dr. Tomás Bocanegra, for accepting my invitation and conducting very informative presentation today. Dr. Upulekam, thank you very much for your great support as the session moderator. Also, I must thank to Mr. Manuja Karunaratna for accepting my invitation as the guest of honor. My gratitude goes to all the participants who took valuable time out of their busy schedule to join us. I sincerely thank to marketing team, and also last but not least, a very big thank to goes to IT team, without whom this event wouldn't have been successful. Thank you once again for your and support. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay informed. Thank you very much.